What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. It is episode 25.
Hey, 25.
Oh my goodness gracious. My name is David Howe.
My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is Patrick Nisley.
And I'm Tommy Green.
Hey, very good. Special guest Tommy Green joins us in the studio today. This is a studio, right?
Yes.
It's kind of a studio.
The Super
If you say
Switch
studio,
Headz
they'll never
studio.
know.
We're recording this at Abbey Road. Tommy is here today. Thank you for joining us, Tommy.
Thanks for having me.
You having a good day today?
Pretty good. Just got back from the beach, so
Fuck yeah. That
can't
sounds like
complain.
a really nice time.
Except for the traffic, it's great.
Oh, Lord. We've got a great topic for you guys on this episode. We're going to be talking about Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, the newest Switch exclusive to come out, unless you're listening to this after Fire Emblem comes out. And we're going to be talking about that game and kind of Marvel games at large in kind of the history of Marvel games. It's going to be a fun episode. We also got some stuff about Joy-Cons, a lot of Joy-Con drift news. And then we're going to talk about that new Switch revision that we didn't get to last week. So I say we just jump right into it. You want to get into the news?
Yeah. So Splatoon 2, Team Chaos won the final Splat
That's
Fest.
right, baby.
Fuck yeah. That's what I'm talking about. In your face, Patrick.
And anyway,
Patrick was Team Order.
Chaos wins.
so I think it was Famitsu, but there was somebody who talked to the Splatoon developers about and asked them about is Splatoon 3 in development. Honestly, I'm kind of rambling here because I don't remember the specifics of this, but essentially what happened was they said that it's not presently in development, which is kind of a surprise to everybody because they've also said that they started work on the second one right after the first one was over. So everybody just kind of assumed with this one, with Splatoon 2 ending, we might start hearing about Splatoon 3, but that's not the case. It might be some time before they get to work on it. So, listen to our podcast, Nintendo. We had some good ideas from last week.
We had some really good ideas for
Yeah.
Splatoon 3.
If you're interested in hearing them, that was our last episode.
Yeah. I'll send it to Nintendo.
And then 2 episodes before that, it was the Devolver Digital episode. So check out that Devolver episode.
That was a good episode too. Listen, let's
That was.
just keep talking about our podcast. This is, I think, good. I think this is good.
I think it's good too.
This is kind of what we talked about, right? It's like, a lot of the Splatoon team is on Animal Crossing, right? So, they're going to be working on that until that's out. So this gives them some time to actually iterate here and like do some new shit, hopefully. And, my question is, do you think we'll see Splatoon 3 on the Switch?
Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting question because they're not working on it. If we're to believe them, which I don't always believe them, but they're probably telling the truth. Then it's at least a couple of years away. At least, probably more like 3 or 4, if we're being optimistic, right? And that seems like that's close.
I'd say 2 or 3. I bet they could, because remember they put out.
You can just reuse.
They put out so much of the content for Splatoon after it's released, right? So it's like they're going to be working on it throughout the time of all the Splatfests, right?
I'd throw it in the basket of Mario Kart. Like, are we getting one of those on Switch?
Yeah, that's a good question too.
I don't think that we are. I think that those games are selling so well, and why split the player base? Why confuse people? Why, I think there's a good chance that unless there is some sort of huge hardware revision, but it's still the Switch, we aren't going to see it.
Sure. Yeah. What about you, Matt?
I had no opinions on this.
Matt wants us to move on.
Yeah, listen, I want one game.
We know what you want.
It's called Town.
It's called Town.
Oh,
I don't think it's coming this year, man.
Yeah,
The
probably
Nintendo
not.
Direct in October 2018 said it's coming 2019.
We'll see. About
I think
that.
it's delayed.
I will say I'm very interested to see what they do with this Chaos versus Order Fallout, like you were talking about last episode, Patrick, like how the ramifications it's going to have.
Right.
Because I was actually listening to another podcast and they were talking about how the final Splatfest of Splatoon 1 was Callie versus Marie.
And then that affected the story of
Exactly.
Splatoon 2.
Yeah. So I think maybe that might be something to do with it. Maybe they were like literally putting it up to the whims of the fans to see like what they do with the story for this next one. So I guess it's going to be more Mad Max than a dystopian cyberpunk landscape. But
Oh, that'd be amazing.
we'll see. Yeah. We'll see.
So we did talk last week about how there was those FCC filings where they want to have some minor revisions to the Switch. And then strangely, Nintendo did announce that there is a slightly upgraded Switch model coming, but it's not like a completely different Switch Pro or anything. It's kind of just like it's got a better chip and, which I think is weird
Way
that they
better battery
actually announced it instead of just quietly doing it. Maybe because they make such a big deal about the battery life differences and all that. So if you're looking to buy a Switch, I guess wait, because it's coming in August, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds right.
It should be out really soon. Like, we'll start seeing them over the next few weeks out in the store shelves.
I think the box is slightly different from what I've seen.
Yeah, it's all red.
So look for that, but there's also there's serial number differences too. So we kind of don't know. It was only announced in Japan, so they haven't like made a formal.
I think they said it's coming out here, but it's
I think it's coming. It's just
the main thing is like it's got. I think it said it was 6.5 to 9 hours of battery life, which is crazy. That's a huge difference.
And the original model was 3 to 6.
Yeah, it was like 3.5 to
or 2 if you play Zelda.
Yeah, right.
That's
So
very
they
true.
claim it's all like Breath of the Wild is the measurement unit. It's like 3 and
Yeah.
And I imagine, this is speculation on my part, but I imagine that this will be the model going forward. That once they sell out of all these other ones, we're just going to see this one. So
Well, they're straight up giving them away. There was that Southwest flight where they just gave
yeah.
everyone on the plane a Switch. Like, they're getting rid of the old models.
I hope that when these new ones come out too, that they discount the old ones. So if you are looking for a Switch, maybe that'll happen too at some stores. We'll see. And one of the questions, of course, about this is, will the Joy-Cons have drift? Because, what also happened the same day they announced that, or maybe the day before, they also announced new Joy-Con colors. And last week I was talking about, I think the reason we haven't seen new Joy-Con colors is because they're working on fixing the Joy-Cons. And then the very next day, before our podcast come out, they actually announced new Joy-Con colors. There's orange and purple and yellow and blue. What do you guys think about the colors?
I think that if it was orange and purple, wait, is it orange and purple? It is orange and purple.
It's left
if it was,
purple, right
If it was
orange.
orange and blue
You'd be
and
into it.
yellow and purple, I would be more apt to get them.
Yeah.
But I think the combinations as they are, I think are kind of ugly.
You want that Wario Waluigi color mix?
Precisely. I mean, come on.
Oh my God, you're right.
I really like the purple. I hope that they have. I just want uniform colors on mine, and I really want to not have to buy 10 Joy-Cons.
I would love it if I could buy a single Joy-Con.
That too.
You can on Play Asia.
Yeah, but not like
if
easily.
you import them from Japan, because Japan has way more customization options for your Joy-Con than we do.
This brings up speculation of, with them announcing these new colors, is there a revision to the Joy-Cons with the Switch Lite, with this new model, with this? And then there's been a lot of stuff swirling. We talked about this a little bit about Joy-Con drift. In fact, so much so that a law firm has filed a class action lawsuit related to Joy-Con drift. So that's interesting. Maybe that's putting some pressure on Nintendo. A lot of media outlets are talking about it, including I think it was Verge. The Verge did an article, and Nintendo gave a very stock answer in response to them, saying essentially, we take great pride in creating quality products, and we're always making improvements, and we're aware of reports, and we encourage people to send them in to our support. And everybody was like, well, fuck that. I'm not paying $50 to repair a Joy-Con or whatever. But today something happened.
Oh, yeah. You're pointing to me.
I'm pointing to you because you're the one that found it right before we were recording.
Yeah. There's an article on Vice, and the Vice News, whoever the editor was, received an internal memo from Nintendo customer support that says provide a replacement for Joy-Cons that have drift issues.
And you said even outside of warranty.
Even outside of warranty.
So that was like a leaked internal memo that suggests that right now, we'll see somebody out there try this, but that right now that sounds like maybe they'll be accepting Joy-Cons for repair for free. Or maybe just shipping charge or something.
Yeah.
And hopefully you don't have just 2 Joy-Cons, because that still doesn't help you otherwise.
True.
Yeah.
I don't know. I definitely have some Joy-Cons with drift. You have Joy-Cons with drift.
I have one that drifts.
I have Joy-Cons that drift.
Yeah.
Don't think I do, but
Yeah.
I always use a Pro controller, basically, unless
Right.
they're attached to my Switch.
Like, that probably helps, using
yeah,
them less.
Mario Party is the only time I'm using them.
Right. So
outside
you
of
play
that.
mostly docked then, I guess?
Mostly docked, unless it's like late night, and
Right.
I'll play in my bed, but it's generally something where I'm not detaching or anything like that.
Right,
so.
right. I don't know. This is, as of now, unconfirmed.
Yeah,
Matt
literally just found this.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say necessarily like just listen to this podcast and immediately send your Joy-Cons in.
Do your research.
Yeah, do a little bit of research here, but like that would be really, really awesome if that were true.
Yeah,
right?
but also maybe call Nintendo and see if it works, and then let us know if it works.
Because collectively we have a few we need to send in.
Here, I'll call right now and I'll let you guys know later in the podcast.
Pause the podcast, call Nintendo.
No, let's keep going. I'll just put them on speaker.
Let's do it right now. Yeah,
I think this is a terrible idea.
Any other thoughts or feelings about all this Joy-Con drift and revisions and stuff?
It's interesting to me that it's just now coming to a head. We've known about drift for over a year now, and it's like, and everybody's been having these issues. I guess it's just hitting a critical point
Right, it's
where
hitting
more
a critical
and more people
point.
are doing it. And it's like, but yeah, there was like that Verge article and the Kotaku article, and I think that those kind of lit a fire under the asses of opportunistic lawyers that
Right,
were like,
absolutely.
oh, here,
Yeah.
we can make a buck off of a class action suit,
Right.
potentially. And so I think it's just kind of snowballed, but I think it's good. It's just a shame that it took this long and this much like bad press for Nintendo to respond at all, even with a non-answer.
I do think that the new Joy-Cons are better. I just total gut feeling. I bet you that the reason they've waited this long to put out purple and orange, you know what I mean, is and blue is for they knew there were issues.
it's probably just a little more solder on one point of the motherboard or the breadboard.
Right, and I'm looking forward to watching some teardown videos or whatever once all these
Looking
things
forward to
come out.
Spawnwave's video on
Digital
this.
Foundry,
Yeah.
Spawnwave.
I'd like to assume that this is refined by the Switch Lite and that they're fixing that issue with that and carrying it over. But that's just
That's
my
a really
guess.
good point. Yeah, they probably figured it out with the Switch Lite because they're like, we can't just repair every Switch Lite. That's a really good point. I wonder how long it's going to take to have a class action lawsuit against the Pro Controller's D-pad. Because I would like to get a new one of those as well.
I have trouble with my Pro Controller, the Smash Brothers one specifically.
Yeah.
Is kind of messed up.
Yeah, I think that they did put out a quiet revision for the D-pad Pro Controller because I played Tetris 99 with yours and it never
I
gave
have
me any false
two
inputs.
Pro Controllers and one of them is good.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it the newer one?
I don't know. I also don't know which one's newer. I don't, you know what I mean? Like I got
You didn't label them 1 and 2?
No, now they're totally mixed up. Moving on though, Luigi's Mansion 3 got a Halloween release
I was
date.
going to talk about controllers.
Oh, talk
more.
about it.
No, please, let's move on.
Let's quickly hear your thoughts on controllers.
I'm sorry.
We've had controllers for 30 years, and there are still problems with them.
Right.
I agree.
Thank you.
move
For
on.
that.
I'll edit that in a way to where it
Amen.
works.
Hey, did y'all know that Luigi's Mansion 3 got a release date?
Yeah.
Spooky one.
A very spooky release date
It's
indeed.
Halloween, which is a Thursday.
Satan's birthday.
Old Hallows Eve.
So that's interesting because it's Thursday, and I think everybody thought it would come out around then, but maybe a little sooner, just so that it would you could play it up. But they can play it up still.
Yeah, it'll come out, Wednesday at midnight, so kids can skip school.
And normally
Yeah.
Nintendo games come out on Fridays, right?
Yeah,
Correct, yeah.
They're making it.
making
They
an
really want it
exception.
to be a thematic release date this time around.
That's just pretty cool.
I think it's cool. Yeah.
Another game came out. David, do you want to tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, sure. We're talking about Astro Bears.
That's what we're talking about.
Okay. So one of my favorite party games for the Switch for the past 2 years has been Astro Bears Party. This little game by the same developers, or at least the same publisher as One Strike, and a bunch of those really cheap budget Switch games. This game came out for $5. It was routinely on sale for like 99 cents. Astro Bears Party. Super fun game. It's like, you were saying earlier when we were watching the trailer, it's like Tron, but on a sphere, right? And you play as these little bears, and you leave trails behind you, and you try to get your opponents to hit your tail. It's awesome. It's really fun. And the developers have put out a new version of the game just called Astro Bears. And it just came out for the Switch. So if you already owned Astro Bears Party, this game is free. So now I have 2 versions of Astro Bears on my Switch because I'm not going to delete Astro Bears Party because it's just making my Switch more valuable.
Did they stop?
It's like the PT of
Did
the
they
Switch.
did they stop publishing that? Like you cannot buy Astro Bears Party
That's
now?
a good question.
That's fine if you don't know. I was just kind of curious.
I think that it replaced it on the eShop. I'm pretty sure. So it's like that was kind of their whole idea, and that's why it's free for people that own the original. I think it is a little bit more expensive. I think it's $7 now instead of $5.
Oh boy,
it's fucked up. But they added a bunch of new modes. They added a bunch of new characters, and it's like a really full featured game finally. So I would really recommend it just because it's like so much fun to whip out at a party. People that are bad at video games can play it. I just really recommend it, and go check it out and support this indie developer.
Nice. A couple quick Pokemon news items here, but they are not Sword and Shield related. Detective Pikachu is now the highest grossing video game based movie ever. I think some foreign box offices just got it up to that point. I don't know what it beat to get there, actually. I should have looked that up. What do you think?
Mortal
it was?
Kombat?
Probably Warcraft.
Warcraft?
Yeah, 'cause that was huge in China.
And then we got some news or some rumors that Tencent, the Chinese company that Nintendo's working with in China for like distribution and stuff there, is also going to be making a Pokemon game. And obviously, most likely that is a mobile phone game of some kind. But there's some more Pokemon news for you.
So that's not the Pokemon Masters game, right?
It is a new undisclosed game.
Okay.
We don't know anything about it. I think there's like 1 million Pokemon phone games, right?
Yeah.
There's no shortage of those. And then finally, just a couple quick Switch sales kind of info. I know I said we wouldn't talk about this, but I'm bringing it up. The Nintendo Switch is dominating the hardware sales in America. The NPD June numbers came out, so that's not surprising. Mario Maker 2 is on the top of the software list, and that's always amazing when a Nintendo game is on there because that doesn't count the digital copies. It's strictly physical. So
Really? I didn't realize that.
they don't. Nintendo does not give away to people like the NPD their digital sales information. So when it's a game,
just retailer based.
so it's strictly physical copies, and so probably it's a lot more.
Yeah, I know. I bought that motherfucker digitally.
Yeah,
I know. I bought that motherfucker. Digitally
I know.
too.
I bought it.
I didn't. I have the Best Buy Gamers Club discount.
Oh yeah.
I buy everything physical, even if I don't want to.
I am too lazy to take cartridges out.
And then
I am too.
sort of an interesting note here. There was a website called Hitwise that reported on Amazon Prime Day that Nintendo Switch was the highest searched item during Amazon Prime Day, and is the only video game item on that list, really. Of the top 10, arguably iPad at 10 is related to video games, but
No.
but everything else was like Instant Pots and stuff. So
It's a similar demographic for the Switch.
yeah, I mean, everybody wants to buy a Switch, is what that's showing you.
I'll say I think that this is fantastic for Nintendo, and I just want to say that if you did search for the Nintendo Switch on Prime Day, shame on you for crossing the picket line. That's all I'm gonna say.
Hey, I searched for it, but I didn't buy it. I was just curious what kind
You
of deals
were just using up Amazon's
You're just
data server space.
pumping up those numbers.
Yeah.
So I do all the time.
Well,
I try
no,
to get my friend to buy one like every day.
I was just curious, like if they had any deals on it, because I don't know, I obsessively follow Nintendo stuff.
Yeah.
And then our last little bit of news that leads us into our main topic is that according to some sales projections, analysts, in particular Benji Sales on Twitter, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 did super well in the first 48 hours, exceeding a lot of expectations. We'll see what happens with the Fire Emblem release and stuff, if it'll continue to sell well, but it's great that it's doing so well.
Yeah, I think I read right now for the year, it's already in the top 3 of all Switch software sold this year.
That's incredible.
Which is, for a non-first party Nintendo game, that's out of this world.
That just came out less than a week ago, too.
Yeah.
I guess people like Marvel. Go
Yeah,
figure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an IP that I think some people have heard of.
Yeah, maybe.
Well,
I mean, it's at an all-time high in popularity.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So speaking of, right, our main topic for today is Marvel video games, in particular Ultimate Alliance 3. But Marvel's popularity is at an all-time high because of the success of the movies. But Marvel's been around for a really long time, and they've been making video games. There's seriously a ton of Marvel video games that have existed over the years. There was like a Spider-Man game that came out in 1982, which I think was the first one.
What is that? You have that written on here, but I've never
The
seen that
Atari
game.
2600.
For
real?
I did not. I don't know a whole lot about it.
It's just called Spider-Man.
But what could you do on the Atari as Spider-Man?
It's co-op, believe it or not.
It's co-op?
Yeah, you can swing around. You have to stop Green Goblin from bombing the city, and you stop criminals. Apparently,
That sounds
There's
better than
a
ET.
gameplay screenshot right there for you guys.
Wow.
Here in
That actually looks pretty good.
in the studio.
Yeah.
it's kind of like Rampage.
Yeah. When's that coming to the Switch?
I did not ever play that game. However, there was a there was a
not alive.
I was one. There was a developer called Paragon Games, and maybe they even still exist or have been folded into something. But I played a bunch of their games in the late 80s, early 90s, in particular X-Men Madness and Murder World, The Punisher, and The Amazing Spider-Man and Captain America and Doctor Doom's Revenge. And kind of lead up to this episode, I was watching some YouTube footage of these games. It's kind of funny because it brought back a lot of memories. Number one, these games were fucking hard.
Oh.
Yeah.
As games were back in the day.
And I was a kid and I would play them a lot, but I was like, in like the X-Men one, if you lose, like your characters could die, but you could keep playing, like, cause you had 5 or so X-Men, but if they all had unique skills to get through the puzzles. And so like, if you lose one person, you're kind of fucked anyway. So it's like, you can't lose anybody. It was brutal. And it's also like, I have these memories of these games having really good graphics. And then I watch the footage and I'm like, oh,
yeah.
it's actually not too bad for its time.
Oh, okay.
but
I thought you were going to go the other way with that.
But it was like, oh, that's not quite what I had in my head. But it makes sense.
Probably looks better than Marvel's Avengers. Yeah.
Oh, dang.
That was a little mean.
Right.
That was a little mean to that multinational corporation.
And I don't want to give a whole my history with Marvel video games, but the arcade game in '92, did any of y'all play that? That was a big one.
I still play that game
The
whenever
X-Men
I
arcade
see
game?
it.
Yeah, the
It's
X-Men
like,
arcade
X-Men
game.
were great.
Yeah. I mean, that was probably my first exposure to any Marvel was that game.
Yeah.
Playing that in like fucking CC's Pizza and shit.
There's like a Avengers style one as well around that time with Captain America, Vision.
Yeah, that's right. I
Hawkeye.
kind of forgot about that one.
Yeah, I've
'Cause
never played
the
that
X-Men one was more.
You'll see that
popular.
everywhere. It's right next to Ninja Turtles arcade game. I played
It's
those
like
2 games every
that
day
and
of my
the
life
Simpsons
as a kid.
game too.
Yeah, the
Yup.
Simpsons game was also my exposure to the
Those
Simpsons.
4-player arcade games, those 3 that we just mentioned, were awesome.
I watched a history of the X-Men arcade game. I think YouTuber Super Bunny Hop did it. And if you grew up watching the X-Men animated series, the art style for the animated series and the X-Men arcade game are 2 different styles. And the main difference between the art is one of the characters in the arcade game is Dazzler. Dazzler wasn't represented that much in the cartoon. And what happened is Fox made this pitch to Marvel using those digital assets. And at the same time, they hired Konami to make the game as part of that pitch. But they ended up going with a different art. But also Marvel liked the game. So they made the game, which was originally supposed to be for the X-Men animated series.
Interesting.
And they look differently, but they feel close enough that they're still like similar.
Yeah, and just the brand recognition alone. Like X-Men was, I mean, I guess Spider-Man has always been the most like kind of popular Marvel character, but X-Men, like in the 90s,
In the
it was
90s in
X-Men.
particular.
Oh, yeah.
X-Men were
Yeah.
big,
It's like Wolverines everywhere.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
X-Men arcade game, that was supposed to be the animated series, and there actually is a pilot episode of that game. You can find it. There's a different theme song. Everyone knows the X-Men theme song, that iconic guitar shredding riff. Everyone knows it, yeah. You know it's going to be in the movies when they come out. But the original one is X-Men Saves the Day, essentially, and it is a laugh riot. You need to listen to it. If you can find it, it's on YouTube everywhere. It's super
sounds great.
cheese.
We're playing it right now, but we had to cut it out due to copyright language.
Any of y'all have any fond memories of older Marvel video games that you want to
I have
mention?
a really strong memory of playing Spider-Man the arcade game, which was a brawler, and it featured Spider-Man and Submariner and Black Cat, and it was a brawler like all the other brawlers that we've talked about, like Punisher
A
or
lot like Ultimate Alliance as well.
yeah, exactly. But I have this strong memory of at the time I was really young and I didn't know who Submariner was. And my
Or
friend,
Namor, if you're
what is it?
Namor is
Is
also
it-
his name.
Is it
Namor the Submariner. Or
Yeah.
Namor.
It's
Yeah,
not
I always called
Namor.
him Namor as a kid.
Yeah.
You can say it. I don't know how you,
You
say
can
it.
correct
We'll,
me.
we'll see what they refer to him as in Black Panther 2 eventually.
Oh, is he supposed to be in Black Panther?
That's
too?
the rumor.
Oh, cool.
Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll
But
talk about that later.
interesting.
This strong memory that I have is I grew up really involved with like Marvel comics and reading them, and I had no ideas about DC comics except for like big ones like Superman, Batman, and Aquaman. And someone was like, "Oh yeah, Submariner's just like Aquaman." I was like, "What the fuck?"
Namor was first.
Yeah, they're from the same city. But
That's
It
true.
blew my mind, is what I'm saying.
right. See, I was the opposite from you, right? Like I was a way more of a DC kid
Oh, really?
than I was a Marvel kid when I was growing up. I never really was that.
checks out.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what that means.
Because you guys are all very colorful and I'm really dark and gritty. But no, like, see, for me, like X-Men, I knew the show, but I didn't even really watch it that much. Like, for me, I was like way more into Batman and I was into all the DC stuff, right? I mean, I wasn't that big of a comics kid. Either way, I was a video game kid, right? I was like mainly playing Mario and shit.
I was
instead of
into
reading
both
comics.
DC and Marvel.
Oh, you were?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had older brothers, and that helps you get into things that are a little bit above your age.
Sure, above your pay grade.
Yeah, so like I was, and they were into comics, and I was into them too.
Yeah.
So for me, really, my first like Marvel game that I played, other than like the X-Men arcade game, for me was like the PS2 Spider-Man games. And I fucking love those games, and I think those games still hold up to this day, especially Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man
Oh, yeah.
2 is so great.
Yeah.
The legendary.
Yeah,
Spider-Man
legendary.
2.
Just like a game, like that's where I first think I found the word game feel, or at least like understood like what that means. Because like that game had incredible game feel, right? It was just like moving around and swinging around through the city. Like you felt like it was as big as actual
It's
Manhattan.
essentially like GTA Spider-Man.
Yeah. And just like the freedom to be able to fly, or not fly, but swing between buildings was just like unprecedented at the time. And it was
Yeah.
so smooth. And every once in a while, whenever I go home, I still play that game.
Wow.
The game is great.
Have you played the new one for PlayStation 4?
I have. I haven't gotten that far into it because I've just been playing my Switch. but I have played that game. It harkens back a lot of those feelings as well.
Did you play it, Matt?
Yeah, it's tight.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
game
own a
was very
PlayStation,
popular.
but I rented it and played it on my friends because I'm obsessed with Spider-Man. But that game is amazing.
Yeah, it's not quite an MS-DOS game like some of the other ones on this list.
No, that's
The
a lot of ones.
Atari 2600.
but it, you know, at this point, it's a retro game. You know, and it's-
Spider-Man PS4 is the only game that I've 100%ed in the last
Wow.
probably 3 or 4 years.
With the DLC
really?
and everything?
With
or-
DLC, collecting
Cool.
all of the stuff, all of the suits.
did you get the new Far From Home suit as well?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's free download, baby.
gotta get that free download.
Free DLC.
Free LC.
Before we start talking about like X-Men Legends and Ultimate Alliance, I did want to mention that I got really hooked on a stupid Flash game called Avengers Alliance in about 2012, and I played it for like all the time for like a year.
What
Is
kind of
it like a
Flash
beat 'em
game
up,
is this?
or-
It was a super stupid, like, basically you collect the heroes. It was like a turn-based fighting game almost, like a turn-based RPG almost. Like you select your 3 people and then you select their moves and you fight. And it was super grindy, and you could spend lots of money to do things, which I never did. But
Who are your 3 people?
I was playing with everybody, like because it was like the hook of it is you're trying to get more heroes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
Gotcha.
But I sunk way too much time into that.
This Flash game didn't have DLC, did it? Like paid DLC.
Well, it had lots of payments if you want to
Yeah,
get people faster and have better teams and stuff. But
I got a couple shout outs. I played so many Marvel games when I was a kid. It's like I went back for research and was like, wow, I forgot about almost all of these games. And I won't talk about most of them because they were really hard, and I played them for probably 2 hours as a kid and dropped them. Like the Sinister Six, I think it was on Nintendo. But X-Men Mutant Apocalypse, which is basically like the first like animated console game of put Psylocke in it when she wasn't really on the cartoon.
Was that on Super Nintendo?
Yeah, I was on Sega and I was on Super Nintendo. A lot of these games, my buddy had them on Sega, and I just
Ooh,
go
I
over and
remember
play
that game
them.
now that I'm looking it up. Yeah.
There's a sequel, X-Men 2 Clone Wars, and I could never figure out how to get past the starting area because I didn't own it.
And that was a Star Wars crossover?
Yes.
Nice. Very cool. It's finally happened.
There's a couple other ones at the same period of time. The Spider-Man animated series game came out, which is awesome. It was just like the cartoon, so you played against every character on that show. Tons of fan service in that game. It was super fun.
Is that around the same time of like Spider-Man Maximum Carnage?
Exactly. I was about to get to that one. Maximum Carnage and Separation Anxiety. They both
Yeah.
came out
Right.
about a year
Yeah,
apart
yeah,
from each
yeah.
other.
Yeah, because they had red cartridges.
Yes,
Yeah,
that was the
yeah.
draw. The game actually wasn't that great. Like you go back, and, I remembered it being awesome. Everyone's like, "Oh yeah, this game wasn't so fantastic." And then
Yeah.
Separation Anxiety specifically, it was like you just fought the same 4 goons like over and over for like hours. It just took forever, but it was co-op, so it was like okay. Maximum Carnage was 1 player.
Most of the old Marvel games on the giant list of all the Marvel games aren't that great. Like all the ones I've talked about aren't that great.
No, Spider-Man 2 was like the game saver of all that. Is like, oh, this is a fantastic game. I played so many hours into that. Spider-Man 3, not so much. Believe it or not, that
Movie
game
wasn't
was
very good
just
either.
as bad as the movie. Actually, it's worse. It's way worse than the movie. I don't even think you could beat it. My parents got it for me for Christmas, and I never asked for it. And
You hear that, parents?
We resent you to this day.
hate you, Mom. No, I love you. That game was terrible. Ultimate Spider-Man was based off the comic book series, though, and that came out around the same time. And I think it had the same engine as Spider-Man 2. Someone suckered me into trading my X-Men Legends 2 copy for that game. I regretted it, but they're both fantastic games, so not so terrible.
And speaking of X-Men Legends, the first one came out in 2004, and that's sort of the same sort of style game as the Ultimate Alliance games, which came along later. Which I played the first X-Men Legends game, and that's what and that's why I was kind of excited about Ultimate Alliance 3 because I have fond memories of that. Did y'all play any of those games in particular, the X-Men Legends or the first 2 Ultimate Alliance
I played
games?
Ultimate Alliance. I never played X-Men Legends.
It's basically the same.
Yeah. I mean, Ultimate
Yeah, I
Alliance.
played-
I just remember going over to my friend Matt's house, and not you, Matt, another Matt. I'm sorry, I have multiple Matts in my life. And he had it on his Wii, right? So we would play that game all the time, and that was really fun.
Ultimate Alliance, I got the day the Wii came out. I sat there at midnight and I picked it up with my system, and I believe it was launch, or no, maybe it was a couple weeks after. But I ended up playing Wii Sports anyways for like
yeah.
anytime people
Plenty
are
of
around.
bowling,
Sorry,
yeah.
Twilight Princess. I love that game, but
I just remember in Ultimate Alliance, whenever you would pick Mr. Fantastic, it would go, Mr. Fantastic. It would go like that.
Yeah, so the voice acting in all of these games has always been okay
Yeah.
at best.
Yeah. Which is something they've done a lot better with this newest one.
Yeah, well,
absolutely.
let's start talking about that unless anybody has anything else they want to share.
I mean, I think maybe just like a little breakdown of like the style of game of the Ultimate
Yeah,
Alliance
yeah.
games. It's
maybe
like,
the progression of where.
yeah, like where we've kind of come from. I mean, they've always been like kind of top down-ish Diablo-esque games. Without the loot, I would say they're kind of it's like Diablo without the loot.
There was a loot in X-Men Legends, and they kind of got away from it over the different releases.
So maybe
of the
more
game.
like Gauntlet.
yeah,
then-
think
I would
Gauntlet
describe it
is
as
fair.
Diablo Gauntlet.
Yeah,
It's exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Which admittedly is not necessarily my kind of favorite style of game. I'll say that. I'm just going to be honest about it. But that having been said, there's a huge fucking market for
I love them.
Diablo and Gauntlet clones, and it's like, yeah, it's definitely a good way to go. And I think that now that we were talking about those X-Men kind of brawler arcade games, this kind of feels like a natural 3D progression from those styles of games.
Yeah.
Right. It's like very much a beat 'em up, very much just like jam buttons and do combos and stuff like that. Play with 4 people. You know, it just seems like that's kind of always been the go-to for Marvel style games.
Yeah, so it came out last Friday, and I got it, and I've had a little bit of time with it. And Tommy, I know you've spent.
I spent all Friday playing that game right before I went to the beach because I knew I wouldn't be able to play it. And my buddy Andrew as well, we hopped on and played co-op. So he lives in Virginia, I live in Texas.
And you played online co-op?
Played online. Another buddy would join in and out throughout the day.
Well, maybe you can talk about that because I've exclusively played local co-op, which I'll get into. But tell us a little bit. Like, how do you feel about the game so far? And like, what's your thoughts and opinions about it? I guess.
I want to say it's the best one in the series by far. In terms of just the story, the fan service, the voice acting, all the things that you'd expect from like a game that's based around these lovable MCU characters now, essentially.
And that's what's interesting about this iteration, yeah.
It's perfect for anyone that knows anything about the movies, and it's even better if you know stuff about the comic books.
Right.
Well, it's basically retelling the Infinity War story, right?
Well, it's telling more like the comic. Well, I haven't actually got that far into the story, but
what I mean by that is like if you've seen like the last two big Marvel movies,
right?
Then
you
know the bad guy, you know the basic plot, you know most of the heroes. You know
that's true.
It opens you up with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and basically they're trying to get the Infinity Stones back from the Black Order. Well, they really got dispersed throughout the MCU at large.
I've been playing mostly in local co-op, which has been a lot of fun. The biggest downside to that is the camera is really janky in local co-op. Is it janky online or when you play solo?
Well, you can do hero mode. Is that what you're?
No, I haven't adjusted.
I don't think you can't do hero mode when you're playing co-op on one system.
Yeah, I don't think you can because that's like a sort of more first person.
Yeah,
or it's like over the shoulder.
Okay.
I only have experience playing it either single player or online.
Yeah, so I think the issues are restricted to local co-op from what I've read, but it's not like terrible, but it is like it's like neither of us are on screen.
Yeah, that happens.
It's like
it kind of randomly will follow either one of you too.
Yeah,
and like it doesn't really like pick one person to follow with the camera. It's just kind of
and it's also like most of the time we're in a small room. This is where like it feels like the game could have benefited from like a locked Diablo style camera.
There's some things that are getting patched in this game.
Yeah.
From my experience, and this is coming from late game, from when I was playing it later on in the day, because I played for like 10 hours of this game solid. From the first hour that I played it, there was a game-breaking bug, and then like later on, there are some hilarious interactions between certain characters. There's a fight between certain large characters I will leave unsaid, but you can probably figure it out, where it looked like they were just you're watching a movie and the movie screen tore, and it was just hilarious to watch this happen. Like we could all see it. We were all playing online together. So it wasn't just my system. It was just the game itself. And I was playing as Spider-Man at the very beginning of the game. I got stuck in a wall and I couldn't get out until my buddy bailed me out through like a cutscene. So I will put that out there.
Yeah. I think, this is true of a lot of video games, not necessarily like Nintendo first party games, but might be worth waiting a little bit to pick this one up if you're not super excited about it, because there's like a free update coming in August with some additional characters.
Yeah, Cyclops is coming in August.
Cyclops and Colossus, and I imagine
Gambit coming too.
That's
or is
not
that the rumor.
No,
I don't think they've announced it.
So that's just like a free update.
Put in a spicy rumor.
He's been in every game so far, I think, except for like the last Ultimate Alliance. So. I think it's time for him to come back.
Like Gambit is such a 90s kid.
There's an X-Men DLC pack, which he might be in, but we don't know. But the point being, like, there's a few things that could be patched and probably will be, as well as some free updates coming. So, the other thing, like, I've found there's been some weird difficulty spikes in the game. And mostly, I have to admit this too. I've mostly played this game with my wife's cousin who's staying with us this week while we're drunk late at night into the early hours of the morning. So it's not like I am the best video game player at this. So that might be contributing to it when I'm drunk trying to mash buttons and learn a new game.
Right.
But it does
It's still a fun time when you're just mindlessly playing these superheroes and you're destroying.
Yeah.
And
it's not like a, and don't take this the wrong way. It's not like a thinking man's game.
Right.
You know what I mean? I feel like it's a game that
yes
you can
and
play
no.
when you were drunk.
Most of the time you're not thinking, but when you sit down to upgrade your stuff, you better think about
That's
it.
true.
Because you're gonna, you'll have a bad time if you don't.
And they throw in a boss fight or two where there's not an explained mechanic that you do need to figure out.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean? And like, so that's where we were like, what are we supposed to do here? There's some slight puzzle elements where I'm too drunk for this. Like, which door is opening here? I don't know.
Yeah. Some of that was a little. Is it? There's stuff that happens in the game where it's like, oh, you're playing a video game. You know what I mean? It's like press the buttons to progress to the next part of the video game. You know what I mean? And it's very gamey in that way, but it's very fun. Yeah.
I was just reading about this game. I know that it was a Switch exclusive, but I didn't know it was published by Nintendo.
Yeah.
So they published it, and just reading about it, maybe if you're listening, maybe you didn't know this too. Nintendo published it, developed by Team Ninja,
Right.
who did Dead or Alive and Ninja Gaiden and Fire Emblem Warriors.
Did they do Other M?
Yeah.
They also
I
did
believe
Other
so.
M.
Other M.
I wanted to say that, I wasn't quite sure.
And then Activision did all of the other Ultimate Alliance games.
Right. So it's interesting, kind of a passing of the torch there.
Yeah. It feels... Maybe that's why the game feels... Does it feel different to
It's
you,
got a
Tommy?
little bit of like a Warriors feel to it. Like
I totally
like
feel
if
that.
Hyrule Warriors, which is one I've played like most recently.
I love Hyrule Warriors.
If that was 4-player, that's kind of what it feels like. But there's even more characters to play as. You unlock so many characters, and some of them are exclusively locked into rifts, which is kind of a Diablo thing where
Right.
you can replay these things, and they have certain difficulties and challenges. So you can get like between like an S plus and like I haven't gotten below like a B, but like you can get worse.
And those are like kind of enemy difficulty levels.
They're enemy difficulty levels. They lock costumes and like color tints and sometimes characters like the announced Loki, which they announced at Comic-Con. I think
Is
Elektra.
Deadpool in one of those Infinity Rifts?
No, you just get him.
Okay, right.
What about Gambit? I'm sorry.
Dude, I want him. So
I also love Gambit.
if he's not in the DLC, I'll be shocked.
90s kids
but
love Gambit.
From what I heard, the X-Men DLC is not coming until next year. So
Right.
Another light criticism of the game that something you said, Tommy, just made me think of is that there's so many heroes in the game, and it's like when you get a new character, they're at a different level, and so like level. If you're just trying to progress the story and want to play as well, I guess if you stick with one character, you might level them up
fine.
and be fine.
Yeah.
But if you want to jump around a lot, you kind of run into this problem of under-leveled characters.
So, and that's the thing that's even stressed more when you play online. The person that hosts the game has control of all the characters that aren't your friends.
Oh,
so
it's
if
like
you're just
their
playing as
save
two
or whatever?
people, no, it's all your saves. But if you're just two people, then like
they
get the
control
other two
three.
as well.
Yeah.
So they get the experience from all three, and you just get it for the one.
I saw
Wow.
some post online about somebody that had a workaround for that, but sounded really weird.
Oh,
like you have
really?
to like pretend there's another player and then do something and then so hopefully that's
Okay.
something they will patch
You
as
can,
well.
you can, from what I saw on Reddit, you can play locally and online at the same time. So you can play with like two people on one console.
God.
And
I was
get
wondering
online.
about that.
Nintendo, why don't you put that in your first party games? Like seriously, it's such a basic thing.
It is strange that they
yeah.
don't.
Tommy, I might need you to do that with me and my wife's cousin so that tonight when we're really
Okay.
drunk.
Yeah, me and another
we
Switch
can-
Heads, Andrew, my buddy, we always try to get in the Discord now to plug your guys' Discord, but we're getting in that like every time we play any game now. So if you go on the multiplayer and you see us on, we'll be on Discord and join us on whatever game we're playing. It's probably going to be Ultimate Alliance for a while because we're both huge Marvel marks, but
Yeah.
I could
We'll
use
hop on that.
I could
sounds
use
fun.
somebody that knows what they're doing to help me in this game because I haven't really like figured out a lot of the
I'll be
basics.
glad. Yeah, he knows even more than I do at this point because he wasn't at the beach.
I mean, one of the main things that kind of sets this one apart, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think this was in the other ones, but that kind of stamina bar. What do they call that in this game?
The purple bar.
Yeah,
There's a couple of them.
There's the I think it's the
Talking about on enemies or on
on
heroes?
enemies,
Yeah,
right? Like,
it's the stagger. I
the
think
stagger
is what it's
bar,
called.
right. So they've got like all the enemies now have a stagger bar that if you bring it down, basically
It's cool.
they get kind of stunned for a second, and then if you team up everybody to do your special attacks when they're stunned, it
Yeah.
does like massive damage.
You'll hit the like L and R button, and like it'll do
Extreme.
this cool little pop up thing of your character, and they're like, "Yeah,
Extreme attack.
And then you just can
cutscene.
all keep like smashing it, and your whole team will just like pop off, and you'll see like the biggest numbers you've seen in the game yet.
Right, and so that is like a mechanic that I think is
Yeah.
really important to get down early on because I was fighting some of the bosses and it was just taking so fucking long until I figured out the stagger mechanic.
You can also you can do your own moves, and then you can also hit down the like ZR button, and that'll pop up anyone that you're close to in your party that shares moves that you can also do. Like there's different types of moves.
Is that
You
the
can-
synergy attack?
Yeah, those are synergy attacks. So you can hold that down and then hit one of those buttons when you're close to them, and you'll do some other tag team kind of move that'll really drop their stagger or just do some massive damage.
'Cause that brings me to another thing that's I think new in this game. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's the rifts, which
Yes.
is which the first rift I came across was a Dr. Octopus, and it required synergy attacks, and that took us a while to figure out. Like, we're like, why can't we do damage?
Well,
on this?
it's like you hold the right trigger or ZR and then you press the attack button. Correct? Is that
it'll pop. So if you can do it with one of your allies, when you hit the ZR, it'll pop up their characters' icons instead of your own.
That's how you know when you're.
So
doing
then
it
you
right.
hit it, and it activates, like, say if like your Storm and Thor, like they do lightning attacks. So like you'll pop it off as Thor, and then Storm's face will pop up. You hit it again, and they'll do some crazy lightning attack together. Mm-hmm. And it's basically for free. It doesn't cost energy to do these things.
Yeah. Yeah. So lots of cool little mechanics that are kind of buried in this game that otherwise, like I said, seems a little like surface level when you're playing it for the first time, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, it's still very much a button mashy sort of beat 'em up sort of game. But at least they added in.
Yeah.
And it's like, and something else that's cool is like when you team up with people from the franchise that you're in or whatever, or different kind of ways that, different ways that characters could overlap. Like it seems like they thought about a ton of different synergies between
you get
characters.
a little team bonus. That's not
Yeah.
unique to this game. That was also true of the Avengers Alliance Flash game.
Okay, very cool. I'm gonna have to go open up Newgrounds for the first time in 10 years and check this out. But can we talk a little bit just about kind of the like look and feel of this game? Like,
Sure,
that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, because we've talked a lot about the mechanics and kind of the way that it plays, but I think like something that this game nails really well, I think, is the kind of aesthetics of it. And I think like, and I'm not talking just visually, I think thematically, and I think, with the soundtrack and with the voice acting, I think they just really did a great job. Like, I like that it's kind of cell shaded a little bit. There are kind of thicker outlines around the characters, which is good because it makes it easier to see them when there's a shit ton of characters on screen, like those Warriors games.
Yeah, sometimes
about.
There's no stopping it. You can't tell what's going on.
Yeah, and I think that the graphics aren't going to blow you away, but I think that they nailed the visual style that they were going for, and I think because I think they did basically what Nintendo does really well, right? With their first party games, which is don't necessarily go overboard in the graphics department,
Right,
but pick a style that is beautiful on its own.
And will last, maybe.
And will probably last.
Because it feels very true to comics.
I think it looks better than Square's Avengers game, personally. You know what I mean? The hyper-realistic.
They're going for comic.
Yeah, exactly.
Feel.
They're going for comic, and I think it plays better on lower spec hardware. And I haven't noticed, I've noticed a little bit of slowdown when you're doing like those big synergy attacks or the team attacks, but it's like the game runs buttery smooth. You know what I mean? Even in handheld, I think it runs really, really well. So I think it's like doing, I think they did a great job with the aesthetics is what I'm trying to say.
And to something you kind of talked about earlier and tying in something Tommy said too, they did a really nice job of mixing the movies and the comics.
For sure.
And also the voice acting it's hit and miss, but like they're really emulate for the characters that are in the movies and the MCU movies. They're really trying to imitate them. Like Nick Fury sounds dangerously like Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
And,
Rocket Raccoon.
That's Nolan North, right? Who plays Rocket? I think Nolan North plays Rocket Raccoon. He's just doing a Bradley Cooper impression.
Right. They're all doing impressions, and they're doing impressions of the people that.
The Tony Stark is really funny because he's just straight up doing Robert Downey Jr.
Right.
Which
It's
is
kind
really
of funny.
Not Thor. He's not.
No, not Thor. And then some aren't. Like Spider-Man is the same voice actor that plays Spider-Man in the PS4 game.
Yes.
And so he's basically just playing the PS4 character, right? And it's like, and then Wolverine is just like Wolverine from the show. You know what I mean? And it feels like kind of a crossover between the movies, the comics, the video games, and the TV shows. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's really cool.
Which is just what the comics are, though. Like, you know what I mean? Comics are so fucking messy, and because of the history of them and all the different timelines and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation.
I think I love the way that the aesthetic of all of the attack effects kind of combine with the feeling of each character.
Mm-hmm. How do you mean?
I'm thinking of like characters like Scarlet Witch, who can fly, but is also a projectile-based character.
Sure.
So all of when she shoots the projectors, it feels like how I imagine that Scarlet Witch would play. I don't know how else to communicate this.
Yeah.
But all of the effects surrounding all of those individual attacks and the huge attacks, they feel very true to what I expect as a Marvel fan, as these fans of these characters.
Yeah, and until you play it, you don't know how cool it is to just fly around as one of these characters.
Yeah.
Like I play I've been playing a lot as Thor just because I like to just jump into the air and just float there swinging a hammer because it just looks really cool.
And you can dodge a lot of attacks by just being in the air.
Yeah, and he flies with it. He's just going through the air, and then it's like all the spider characters are just swinging around.
It's fun to play as a spider
character. Yeah.
Like, it's just so fun to watch all those characters just like flying around doing their own thing.
And they really gave each of the characters a different feel, which I didn't expect. You know what I mean? Because there's so many characters. I feel like at the end, if you unlock everything, it's like 45 characters or something like that.
I think there's 36 right now.
That's pretty close. But like, but it's like, I was just very surprised by that. I was like, okay, there will be some characters that are like melee characters and some that are projectile characters and some that, and that to an extent is true. But it's like, you know, Spider-Man is shooting webs and it feels different than, you know, Groot and Rocket Raccoon shooting their gun.
And even Miles Morales is different than the other Spider-Man.
Exactly.
One's got electric attacks, one's got like just normal webbing. Spider-Gwen, I can't exactly remember what. I think she was more just acrobatic, but I'm not 100% sure. And then Venom is like he's just completely different than the other ones.
I love when he like kind of just comes out of the pavement.
Yeah, that weird fish.
And his tongue is like its own character. It's really bizarre.
And overall, I'll just say like, I wasn't really looking forward to this game too much. Like I've been playing your copy, Patrick, and it's like, and it wasn't really on my radar too much just because, you know, I played Ultimate Alliance with my friends, but I never really owned it myself. It was more just something I would pick up and just kind of jump into whenever they were playing multiplayer, right? That wasn't never really about the progression for me. But I got to say, I was really surprised by this game. I thought that they did a really good job. And I played some solo and I was not having fun. And then I started playing co-op and then I started having a ton of fun. So
Nice.
I think that's definitely the way to play this game.
These kind of games are great with other people. I mean, to each their own, but yeah, generally speaking.
Yeah, and when you can, play it in the hero mode because being able to control
done that yet
one character by himself is like infinitely more fun. When you play online, just do it. Like, you'll see us on Discord, hop in with us if we're playing. We'll be doing... Andrew, my buddy's trying to unlock all the characters. There's a couple. I want to say there's 4 or 5 that are unlockable through rifts. Mm-hmm. So if you're ever worried about a character being underleveled, like just take it to a rift. You'll unlock a bunch of cubes, and then you just spend cubes to gain experience to catch that guy up to the rest of your party. Mm-hmm. So that's the trick to that.
One little thing we haven't talked about yet, some news came out at San Diego Comic-Con about the game, unsurprisingly, and we've kind of talked about most of it, but they released info that the Marvel Knights pack is going to have Blade and Moon Knight and Punisher and Morbius.
Blade is the most important part of that.
Played by Mahershala Ali in this game.
I think Moon Knight might be, but
I don't think that's actually true.
I'm excited to see Morbius, honestly.
Yeah.
Is Morbius from Blade?
He's
a Spider-Man character.
Okay, because he's like a vampire, right?
Yeah.
But they have a storyline in the animated series together from what I, as a kid, remember. He's going to be played by Jared Leto in the movie for Sony. So Morbius is a power play by Sony.
They said he's going to be in the next...
They're making it right now. It's being filmed.
Wow.
Yeah, it's coming out next year, I think.
I did not know. Wow, fucking fast turnaround.
It's a Morbius movie?
Yep.
Oh, wait.
He's part of the Sony universe they're pushing forward with Venom.
Oh, I thought you were saying they were filming the Spider-Man sequel already.
Oh, no.
Okay.
So
Morbius is getting
Venom
his own.
and
Right, yeah.
like
And
movies.
like Black Cat and Silver Sable are getting
if that
movies,
ever
right?
comes together.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I guess that is kind of a power play by Sony. Yeah, that's interesting.
So, any final thoughts on Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 or
I already
Marvel
said my
video
piece.
games?
What do you think about that?
I never played any of these games growing up. And David, when we were playing Splatoon, we took a break and started playing this game, and I had a lot of fun with it. I also came to this game knowing that there are a lot of characters that they all might feel the same. I mean, just playing Smash, we know that we already have similar characters, like shadow characters, with like Captain Falcon and Ganondorf. They're like the same animations, but they're just different enough to where they feel, I don't know, they're interesting.
Right, yeah, they have their own flavor or whatever.
Yeah. I think I'll give this another shot.
I think they did a great job. I think this is a great game to not just for Marvel diehards. Like you said, if you're a comics fan, you're going to really like this game a lot because there's tons of little Easter eggs and there's tons of references and all these characters that aren't in the movies. But I feel like people that just have a passing knowledge of Marvel just from seeing the MCU films are going to enjoy this game a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. If you enjoyed any of the Avengers movies, you'd like the game a lot. There's enough characters in there for you to play through all of them enough, even the Guardians of the Galaxy for that matter.
Yeah,
I
if
think
the movies hadn't come out, this game would have never started with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Probably
Oh, no.
not. Definitely not. If like they have enough DLC to support, and the free DLC of Cyclops Colossus in like a month is like a huge like, oh, I'll pick it up. Why not? Like, but going forward, they're doing 3 DLC packs, and they already said they're going to be more missions, more story mode after the fact. So I'm excited to see what that is. I haven't beaten the game yet, but I can assume there'll be another big bad.
Yeah,
So we'll see where they go with that. Maybe Apocalypse, maybe Mr. Sinister will show up, maybe Doctor Doom with the Fantastic Four.
Maybe fucking
Seems
Galactus.
quite
Galactus would be pretty amazing.
Cool. My last word on this would be kind of leading us into the next thing, which is just that the timing of this release kind of sucks because I'm still because like I'm excited about Fire Emblem and I'm still fucking hooked on Mario Maker 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I've played Marvel with when there's been somebody else, but when it's just been me, I've been sucked back into Mario Maker.
But Patrick, what about Octopath Traveler?
I have done a tiny bit on that as well. I got one of the optional bosses beaten. But I just love making levels in Mario Maker 2. That's my jam right now.
Mm-hmm. So have we moved on to what we're playing?
Yeah. Sorry.
I would say that this game, I think, like, for me, this is not a Breath of the Wild. This is not a magnum opus. But this is a game that it's fun to play. Everyone will likely enjoy it and have a good time. It's multiplayer, and it feels like an easy game. You can pass the controller. You don't have to teach anyone really how to play. Mm-hmm. And I think that's valid.
Except for the stagger mechanics.
Well,
yeah. Some of the experience mechanics and all of those. But I think at the base level, this is a game that anyone can play. And I think that's good for gaming overall.
And it's cool that Nintendo has an exclusive Marvel game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's huge.
That's unprecedented.
I think this is a testing of the waters.
Yeah.
This
you think
game,
we're going to get more?
This game was a taste. They wanted to know what people were going to do when they released it. I think we'll find out the sales in the next month or so. I think every kid's going to get this game for Christmas if they don't have it already. That's a
good
child.
guess, yeah.
Like, they're going to want this game. It's Marvel.
Yeah. And they all have Switches.
And if it does well enough, I would expect a bigger, better version of this, maybe more in the style of Diablo going forward.
Cool. All right. Well, that was a good talk. That was a good
good.
talk, boys.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Well,
moving on.
Officially moving on to what we've been playing. Let me follow up what I was just ranting about there.
You go first.
Which is
Patrick.
that I've been making levels in Mario Maker 2, and I found this really fun way to do it, which is I have my 4-year-old, I tape several pieces of paper together, and he draws out a level.
Oh.
And I saw this on the
God.
internet as a suggestion. And
That's
so
amazing,
I pitched it to my kid while I was cooking dinner when it was just me and him, and that kept him busy. And he drew out like a 3 or 4 page level. And then I was like, all right, while you're sleeping tonight, I will build that level.
That's so cool.
And it was awesome for
Yeah.
me, maybe even more than him. Because
Yeah.
it's like I have this template here, and some of it doesn't quite make sense. So how can I fix it but stay true to it? And then so we've done that since then again.
Is he ever like, Dad, that was supposed to be a fucking 5-block gap.
No.
Not a 6-block gap. You made it too hard.
Though I think, I had to like get permission to like make some changes and stuff. The first time he was more resistant to it, but the second time he was more open to it.
Cool.
And I'm like, oh man, these are the best levels I'm making because I'm using things I wouldn't have done. And like, I don't know, there's something really, maybe even worth doing if you don't have a 4-year-old, just like draw out a really simple thing. And then you know what I mean? Like there's something about having that template there.
You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of those guys, like the dads who are like comic book artists or whatever, and they have their kids draw these like shitty drawings, and then they like turn them into like really cool characters.
Because there's
like,
some crazy ideas he put on there where I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to make that work. And then I start playing, and I'm like, this is brilliant. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like,
Makes
I
me
would have
think of,
never
like-
put a row of music blocks up right next to a row of, on-offs blocks or
Yeah.
whatever.
It's like, could they do a Nintendo Labo where you can like make Mario levels and just scan them on your phone,
oh,
pop them
that'd be
into
cool.
the game?
Yeah. Use that IR camera for something.
So anyway, that's what I've been playing when not playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and I also played a little bit of Tetris 99 because like I mentioned, we have a house guest, and he was interested in that game, and we passed it back and forth a lot. And I've still not gotten a victory in the game, but I actually got
For real?
I haven't played that much, but I could think I got the highest I've done, which is like 5th place maybe.
Yeah.
Which also made me like, oh, I can win.
Yeah.
Like because as probably the longest I actually just sat there playing. You know what I mean? Rather than just a couple matches here or there.
It gets so fast.
And
at the
so
end.
yes.
Yeah.
I got 5th place today at work.
Nice.
Really?
Nice for 2 reasons.
Yeah. I was rendering a video and I was like, it's a perfect time for Tetris 99. And then I got 5th place and I started another one and then my supervisor walked in. Anyway, was there anything else?
No, that's what I've been playing. So somebody else, yeah.
Well, I've been playing some Tetris 99 as well. I unlocked that Splatoon skin that was going on before the final Splatfest. I have not moved away from the Splatoon skin because I love
really?
the...
It's nice.
It's got the colorful blocks, which the Game Boy one doesn't
missing,
have. And then it's also got Splatoon music, which is great.
Yeah, the music.
Right? And every time you like drop a piece down, the squids are like, wow! it's really nice. So I've been playing some of that. Been playing some more Mario Maker. Shout out to my friend Andrew Ryder, who lives in New York. He texted me today. He just got the game. He like world recorded a couple of my levels, and then I went to check it. And then your friend Andrew McHugh had already taken the record back. Andrew McHugh, Switch Head. All he does is go around to Switch Head levels and get world records.
That's amazing.
But yeah, so I've been playing some of that. What else have I been playing? And then I guess the new game that I've been playing recently, I did just download Crash Team Racing, but I haven't played it yet. So I'll hopefully be talking about that next week. But, I did download a game that I had put off purchasing for a while because I resented it. And it's because we had Rusty Moyer on the show who, put out a game called Dig Dog. And then on the same day, a game called Ding Dong XL came out. And it was a 99-cent game when it came out. It was on sale recently for 19 cents. I got it for free with Nintendo points. And, I gotta say, Ding Dong XL, fantastic game. It's a one button game. I feel like it had to have originally been a mobile game, right? Cause it's like a tap
I think
mechanic.
it was now that you say that.
But basically it's a one button game. It's just, it's one screen. You've got a little puck basically that goes between up and down on the screen. You press a button, it goes down. You press a button, it goes up, right? And it goes across, and then there are just objects flying across the screen, and you have to not hit the objects. And that's basically it. And you're just trying to go ding, dong, as much as you can before hitting an object, right? So it's just a time waster game, right? It's just something to put on while you're having a conversation with your mom on the phone, right? It's like, it very much like, sorry, mom, if you're listening to this, I'm not always present, okay?
Sometimes he's got Ding Dong XL.
No. My dad listens to the show. I don't think my mom
ding
does.
dong right now, mom.
XL.
I'm playing with my ding dong. I would never say that to her. But it's really fun. And I think it's still on sale for 19 cents. Honestly, pick it up. It's like, it's
That's
also
a good deal.
Yeah, I'd buy that for less than $1. And, it also has a duo mode. So, you can put it on a table or like hold it in like between two of you, like in handheld mode, and you can use the shoulder buttons very much like WarioWare had some games like this for the Game Boy Advance, where it was like 2-player games that you stood on opposite sides of the Game Boy Advance and played it like that, and then you just each control a little puck as it goes, and that's been a lot of fun. I've been playing that with my girlfriend as well, so I would really recommend Ding Dong XL. I'm sorry to the devs of that game. I don't resent you anymore. I think that Dig Dog and Ding Dong can live in harmony.
And I'm sorry to David's mom that he's busy playing with his Ding Dong.
Listen, I talk to her on the phone. I do it. I just, Matt, what have you been playing?
Boy, y'all, I finished Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Oh,
Hey,
hell yeah.
congratulations.
65 hours later.
Dang, I never got there.
Had a great time. It was a fun, time.
No, I liked it. It was a fun.
And I get why people are always saying that there's going to be a sequel to it because it ends on a cliffhanger.
That makes sense.
Oh, so you're done with it now?
Yeah,
Nice.
I finished it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of things that end on a cliffhanger. that are like
there was DLC for that game,
where
right?
you've spent
There was a little
65
DLC,
hours, especially.
yeah, some DLC missions.
Yeah.
So I had a fun time. That's it.
Were you disappointed with the cliffhanger ending?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. It plays into the story.
Okay.
It kind of without spoiling too much, it feels like kind of a lost ending. Or like a lost feeling of like this mystery of the land.
There's still mystery.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not a big deal. Okay.
Yeah. Besides finally finishing that game, being sad, but also excited to finish it, I played What Remains of Edith Finch.
Oh, okay.
Have you all played this?
Did you play it on the Switch? Or?
I played it on PC.
Okay, cool.
If you guys haven't played it, if you're listening right now, send me a message and I will buy it for you.
Will you buy it for me?
I will buy it for you.
Hell yeah, dog.
It's only 2 hours, and it's kind of a walking simulator. But the story is like it's fucking incredible.
I've heard it's really, really good.
Yeah. It's really quick. But I was like enraptured by the story and the environment and the music and the voice acting. And it has this exploratory feeling that it's linear all the way through, but it doesn't feel linear. And it mixes different gameplay mechanics. And it's great. My girlfriend who doesn't game at all, I was like, you have to play this game. And it's so good. I spent $20. It's only 2 hours. And I
Don't regret it.
Yeah, I totally don't regret it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to pick that up.
It's great. I will not buy it for every Switch head.
Yeah, I was about to say, we're about to get in. We're going to know who listened to the end. And they're going to send us an email asking for their free
Just put a limit on it and put it out before this drops.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'll put a max of 5 people. How about that? It's just like incredible way to use game to tell a story and to introduce you to this whole new world. I think Annapurna Games made it.
Yeah, that's right.
God damn, it's so good.
Cool. Hell yeah.
Tommy, how about you? What have you been playing? I think we know.
Well, I've been playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
What about other than that?
Nothing in my bones are asking me to play this right now. But besides that, Mario Maker a little bit. And I'm just as mad at Andrew as everybody else. We're generally on Discord, and I'm listening to him wreck people. So that, a little bit of Octopath. I never finished it, so I got deep into that game and didn't quite get to the side stuff. Like, I didn't finish 1 or 2 stories. I kind of left off on it. My Switch actually got stolen in November.
Man, that sucks.
So when I transferred over all my data, I just never really went back to it.
So the cloud saves worked for you?
Yeah,
cloud
I was gonna
saves,
say, did you get your saves?
my Zelda was spared. And that was the thing I was most worried about.
Yeah.
I never played Splatoon, so sorry guys, but I didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah,
That was not coming with it. But everything else got saved. So Octopath, Zelda. Honestly, can't remember what else I would have been carrying over with me in terms of that. But so a little Octopath.
Smash.
Lots of Smash. I've been playing that. So for anyone that's listening, I do beat Andrew in that. So, he's actually really. A lot of our buddies play that. So if you ever want to,
I think that's the first time we ever met. We played Smash.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a good time.
I'm going to try and get people to come out to my place. I got a TV big enough for Smash Brothers to
Let's
even
play
8
some
player.
Smash.
Let's do it.
Who do you main?
Recently I've been playing K-Rool again. So he's back. The big
you were
Gator
playing
boy.
him when we first played.
Big Gator boy's back. I play a lot of Ganondorf and
One of the
a
big
couple
boys.
others. I'll play all the big boys.
All the heavies.
That's what we've been playing. If any of those sounded good to you, go check it out. Check out Ultimate Alliance. Give some more money to that enormous mega corporation, and
Join us on Discord.
join us on Discord. We're playing games online. We were playing Splatoon during the Splatfest on Discord.
That's right.
You guys have been playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance. We
Smash
play,
Brothers
Smash
as well.
on there as well. So check out the Discord. That you can find a link to that usually in the description of this podcast, right? Maybe.
No, but I think if somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere. Well, basically, check out our Facebook
can
group.
do that.
It's called Switch Headz. Just Switch Headz with a Z.
That's where everything
Look
is.
it up. I'll add you in if you add yourself, as long as you're not a Russian bot, and we'll put you in the group. And you can find all that information with the Discord and everything in there. We got lots of spicy memes. We got lots of cool discussion. We got lots of gameplay stuff. It's a great non-toxic Nintendo community that you can join.
Yeah, and thanks to Corduroy for doing our music. Next week we're going to be talking about Fire Emblem, I think.
I think so, yeah. And you should give a little plug
and
right
yeah,
here,
a little
Patrick.
plug. Me and my friend Austin, who's going to be our guest next week, are going to be doing a podcast, and we already are doing it, about our Fire Emblem playthrough. He's really experienced. I've never played a Fire Emblem game. That's the shtick. So check that out. It's called Optimal Pairing. And then, if you want to find me specifically online, I am PDYX or PDYX123 most places
You
online.
can find me on Twitter. That's Matthew, MATHYOU.
And I'm on pretty much everywhere on the internet as Monolith Fiji. What about you, Tommy?
I got a little comedy troupe, Backyard Boys with the Z TV at Facebook or Twitter.
Very
Nice.
good. Very good. Check that shit out. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to this episode. This was episode 25. Can you believe it? We've been doing this for 25 weeks.
I can.
That's like
Congratulations.
that's half a year that we've been doing it here at Abbey Road Studios in London. and I just want to thank everybody who's been listening to us from the start or recently picked it up or maybe listened to a little bit and then listens to this thing at the end here. I just want to say thank you very much for listening to us for 25 episodes. It really doesn't. I mean, maybe it feels like 25 episodes to you. It doesn't to me. I feel like
that was a joke. I'm sorry.
Matt hates the podcast. No, but seriously, I just want to say thank you to everybody because, like, whenever we get a comment on YouTube or on Instagram or we get a review on iTunes talking about how they listen to us as they come home from work, that's what you were saying before we were recording here.
Oh, yeah.
It's like that kind of shit just makes it all worth it, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we'd be doing this anyway, right? I mean, that's the whole reason I wanted to start this podcast in the first place is like, I just annoy my friends by talking about Nintendo all the time, and I was like, we might as well do it in a productive setting, right?
And I get to talk about Xenoblade.
And you get to talk about Xenoblade in town. Yeah, which is really nice. But anyway,
That's for all the town heads out there.
yeah. So here's to 25 more, and then 25,000 after that. Basically, check us out on Instagram at Super Switch Headz. We got a Facebook page and a Facebook group, and we're on Twitter at Switch Headz. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. We love you very much. We'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.